All right. So I've had a couple of folks ask me online about how would you make the types of adjustments that you need to make, sometimes referred to as accommodations, to suit certain jobs. And I feel like as an adult, a lot of times it's up to us, especially if you got what they call an invisible disability, something that a person wouldn't remember that you're struggling with just to look at you. So, for example, as an actor, I have dealt with scripts over the years, and that can be a real challenge because just the way that my brain absorbs the information, especially written word, it sort of sifts through it, so I don't retain a lot of it. But I have found that the strength of that then is that I can retain the sort of an overall theme, and I can focus on the important parts of that theme. It's a little bit easier for me to edit out things that people might sort of glaze over while it's going on. So improvising is sort of my preference over memorizing. The next thing is, as an illustrator, there are times when you're drawing something maybe that's man-made. You need very straight lines or very smooth curves or whatever. And there are people that are great at that. I've found that that's not really, for most of us, it's not really like an innate skill. So that's why we've got rulers and compasses and protractors and things like that. And now with desktop publishing, you've got the computer to draw your perfect circles and things like that. So what the computer is still lacking a little bit is that organic feeling. So what I lean toward when I'm doing illustration is toward more organic materials, nature and people, and cartoons, sort of, again, creating the impression of the situation as opposed to the exact duplication of it. And this carries over to when I'm working carpentry or when I'm doing sewing. There are very few straight lines in the things that I make. And with sewing, I tend to do a lot of sort of hand-done applique or detailing or whatever, so that I can finesse it to where I think it fits the best rather than where it would need to be measuring specifically correctly. So organic over straight. When I've found myself in positions where it might be a goal for me to sell or to influence people, the public, audience, students, or whatever, I have found that listening is very valuable, and in some ways not really emphasized as much as I'd like to. There have been times when I didn't know how to get through to somebody. I didn't know how to convince them of something. But by listening to a person, a lot of times they can find their own answers, or you can kind of come to the same place together. And everybody wants to be listened to, right? Wants their ideas valued. The next thing, if we're talking about facts and figures, like when I've done tour guide type work, again, the numbers, the dates, the exact names of the towns and the distances from one another isn't going to be my strength. So again, I'm going to be trying my best to relay the human experience rather than the date that something happened, that a specific battle happened, or the number of soldiers that were involved. I want to portray the feeling, the human side of it. What did it feel like? Can you, the listener, find experiences in your life that may have made you feel the same way? Can you tie your emotions into these experiences that we're talking about, as opposed to just the facts and figures? And the last thing that I wanted to point out is, if I get like a position where it's very procedural and you need to do step by step by step by step, it's important to have a list. And yeah, I live by lists because I'm not going to remember the procedures. But I'm also going to focus on the major ideas or innovations. What can be done to make that process more direct, more impactful? And so ideas, what we used to call ideation back in college, or innovation, invention, things like that. And that is where I feel like I excel. So I've made a little visual aid here, and I'll just hold it up real quick and you guys can take a look. So I've got improvisation over memorization. I've got organic over perfectly straight, listening over selling, experiences over facts, and innovation over specific procedures. And one thing that I didn't put on the list is, if, and this happens in life, that you get a document, a page or several pages of text just going, just filling the page. For me, I have recently started really working on the way that I utilize highlighter pens. Sometimes I'll use 2 to 4 different colors, and different colors represent different sections or ways of organizing the information into bigger blocks of information down to specifics and minutia. So for me, there are things that I can do to achieve the goals that a job or an organization wants to achieve, that are going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to focus on these things a little more than what might be expected. And so for you out there, if you find that there are challenges that you're facing, come at it from the standpoint of, what are my strengths, not my weaknesses. An idea I keep seeing online is, the whole world is going to remind you of your weaknesses. It's going to tell you what your deficits are. So you need to be just as adamant about what your strengths are, and stand up for it. Stand up for yourself.